Going into week 3, Jake, I'm 9-8. You're 12-7. All I know is we're in the green. And if you're betting on BroThrow, you're saving more money on the juice.
That's right, 21 and 15 combined, 6 units above 500. Now remember, if you're betting on BroThrow, you save all the vig on losses. That's an extra 1.5 units, 25% return on investment, just from betting our picks on BroThrow versus any other site.
It starts to add up. Well, we've got our picks for this week. Last weekend, you and I were at the Nebraska-Colorado game. You took the under, you won. I took Nebraska, I lost, but you're the real winner because you came home with a Coach Prime hoodie. So now that you've got that on, it makes me think you might be leaning Colorado in this spot. What's your thoughts on Colorado minus 23 at home?
Yeah, it was an awesome experience of the game. Folsom Field was absolutely jam-packed and rocking. Boulder, absolutely beautiful college town. The girls there, A1. Colorado really knows what they're doing, being a university right now. This game, I'm really looking at Colorado to keep up their dominance. I mean, their offense was absolutely unbelievable the first two games of the season. Shedeur Sanders throws the ball with a lot of zip, as we were able to see up close and personal at the field. He's a legit quarterback. He's a legit Heisman contender, and he's a legit potential first-round pick. And Dion's going to make sure of all these things by making sure that in garbage time he's picking up stats, he's picking up extra touchdowns, and really, really pushing that resume with stats. And I think he's going to do the exact same thing here in Colorado's first primetime game for Coach Prime. I mean, that's where he gets his name from.
Yeah,
Colorado State, their defense is not very good to begin with. They played Washington State earlier this season. Cam Ward threw for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. Colorado has covered both their games by 20 plus points so far this season. I think that they're going to be pushing extra hard in this game and wanting to make a statement. So I'm going to lay the 23 points and ride with Coach Prime.
that key word you said before is prime time. This is a night game for Colorado. The student section was crazy last week for the Nebraska game, and that was at 10 a.m. I'm guessing they're going to pick it up even more this week. Big rivalry. They all know it there. So, like you said, Shedor's going to go crazy because they want to hit that Heisman. I'm going to ride with you on Colorado minus 23. Next up, we've got Minnesota at UNC minus 7.5. And this line feels weird both ways. You've got too many points to give up against a Big Ten team, but also too many points to get when we're talking about playing UNC, who barely beat App State last week. Minnesota is known for slowing games down by running the ball, and Kaliak-Manis has been average these first couple weeks throwing it. So my guess is Fleck is going to lean on his two running backs the way he did against Nebraska, just to burn the clock up and limit possessions so Drake May can't score a bunch on him. The two running backs from Minnesota are averaging 5.4 per carry, and they've got 3 explosive receivers who can make big plays all over the field, but I just think they're going to lean on those running backs a little bit more this week. So I've got no idea what to expect out of UNC since they're more inconsistent. I'm just going to ride the under 50 here and expect PJ to try to keep Drake off the field as much as possible.
Yeah, 7.5 is a lot of points to give to a Big Ten team. So I do lean the under with you as well. But I also think that UNC is not going to really have money issues in this game. I think their defense really impressed me against South Carolina, and they should play pretty similarly to how Nebraska did against Minnesota. I'm not expecting Minnesota to score a ton of points in this game, period. So under lean looks good there. UNC minus 7.5, also potential look. I think they're going to win this game pretty easily.
Next up, we've got Washington at Michigan State. Michigan State's getting 16 points after they lost their head coach. What are you feeling here? I know you love Washington.
Yeah, I've been a big Washington guy all season. If you've watched any of our past videos, love Michael Penix Jr., love their head coach, Kalen DeBoer. And you said the magic phrase right there. Michigan State lost their head coach, Mel Tucker, fired for an issue completely off the field, not related to football whatsoever. I think it's going to be a big issue for this team because it wasn't like the players are excited to see him go. It's not like they're all of a sudden going to try harder like when Nebraska fired Scott Frost last year. These are guys who like playing for him. These are guys who are going to try to rally around him, but it's going to be tough with the coach not on the field and not in the locker room. Washington has got an incredible pass offense, and Michael Penix Jr. passed for 400 yards on Michigan State last season. I don't know if Michigan State is going to have the mental capacity to stay in this game. Last season, Washington had a 25-point lead on them in the fourth quarter before Michigan State crawled back with 2 garbage time touchdowns to potentially cover. I don't see that happening this year. I see Washington rolling on the road as Penix solidifies his Heisman candidacy. I'm taking Washington minus 16.
It's a lot of points to cover on the road at night. Michigan State is not an easy place to play. I guess that Michigan State's got the running backs to keep them in this one. I do think it's going to go over. 55.5 seems a little low to me. Michigan State should be able to score 21, and I would expect Washington to be able to get to the 40s here. So I lean over. I don't think I'll make it an official play, though. Next is Tennessee at Florida. You're getting +6.5 at the Swamp at night. Hard to resist this play when you're talking about a team who's been dominant in this game, going 16-2 since 2005. Now, Tennessee didn't look that good against Austin Peay last week, and Florida looked really good against McNeese and won by 42, but they still didn't cover the spread. And before beating McNeese, they were on a 4-game losing streak. Now, Tennessee's pass offense isn't as hot as it was with Hendon Hooker, and Florida ranks 8th nationally in pass D, so they should be able to prevent Joe Milton from going crazy, especially since they're going to be at home. But here's why I think Tennessee will win. They're number 1 in sacks and number 1 in tackles for loss, and Florida already gave up 5 sacks week 1 against Utah, so I think Tennessee can win this by 7 if they can win the turnover battle, and since it's at 6.5 right now, I'm going to take that edge and get that extra half-point boost and, take Tennessee.
This is a tough game to pick. You have the interceptable force Graham Mertz versus the inaccurate object Joe Milton. Last year in the bowl game of Tennessee versus Clemson, I really thought that Milton kind of figured out his accuracy issues. He looked really great in that game, way better than he ever looked at Michigan. But so far this season, it seems like his accuracy issues have come back. But Mertz, on the other hand, I think has played a lot better. He's only had 1 interception so far. He's taking care of the ball. He's moving the ball down the field. I'm leaning Florida plus the points at night. I still like Tennessee to win this game, but this is a rivalry game. That Florida's going to be all up for it. Their students are going to be going absolutely crazy. The Swamp at night is a tough place to play for a guy like Joe Milton. So I'm going to take Florida plus the points. I think Tennessee's going to win this one by 3.
I think a lot of people are going to be on that play. Next up is Penn State at Illinois, +14.5. Illinois has been tricky for some Big Ten teams, but they were not tricky last week. Kansas State handled it. They prevented the comeback, and they covered. What are you thinking this week?
Yeah, last week, Kansas absolutely blew out Illinois. They were up like 34-7 before Illinois is like, all right, well, I guess we'll start trying for that nasty, pesky backdoor cover. But Lance Leipold's guys held it down, didn't allow it, cashed us to the bank. Illinois, I think, is going to try to have a similar strategy that a lot of Big Ten teams do. Run the ball, keep the other team's elite offense off the field, and limit the number of possessions in the game. However, it doesn't matter how many possessions you limit it to if you're not able to get any stops. Illinois' defense has not been particularly good this year. Kansas scored virtually every time they got the ball in the first half. Even Toledo in their first game, Illinois needed a last-second field goal to come back and win. Their defense is giving up over 5 yards to carry this season, which is not good when you're going against an elite rushing attack led by Nick Singleton. That is going to open up passing lanes and play-action passes for Drew Aller, and you know that James Franklin's going to want to get him going. They've already played hard for covers this season. That first game against West Virginia, they kind of chanced to kneel the ball out, but they went for an extra rushing touchdown just to secure the cover for the alumni. I think Illinois is going to struggle in this game. I think they're going to have a chance for a backdoor cover, but we've already seen Penn State's defense has a lot of pride. We know that James Franklin's going for the cover, and I think Penn State's not going to have any issues in this game as they roll, and I'll lay the 14.5 and take Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State's one of the best teams in the Big Ten, one of the best teams in the country, really, and I'm just going to keep riding them until they show me I can't trust them, because ever since last year when I thought Sean Clifford was going to hold him back, it didn't really feel like he did. And now with a better, more consistent quarterback, potentially, I think they've got national championship blood in them. So I like that pick. Next up is Kansas State at Missouri, +4. And this line was funny. It opened at -1 for Kansas State. But then almost 90% of the bets were on the favorite, and the line moved all the way to 5.5 at one point. Now it came back down a bit. We're at 4. Last year, Mizzou got slaughtered in Manhattan, and they lost by 28. And now Kansas State, who's played in some massive games against Oklahoma, Texas, TCU twice, and Bama, get to go to Missouri, and they already know how to play in these pressure environments. So it's different when you're in the favorite position because the expectations are so much higher. But I know the home dog wants to win. They just don't have the quarterback edge. They don't have the coach edge. So I'm going to go with the proven QB, the proven head coach, and I'm going to give the 4 points. Give me Kansas State.
Yeah, really the only thing that prevents me from being more gung-ho on Kansas State is just how public of a pick it is. But you know what? Colorado was a super public pick last week, and they covered. So I'm not really going to overthink this one. Kansas State is the better team. As you said, they got the better quarterback. They got the better coach. So that just seems like the easy play at -4.
Yeah, ignoring the public, and I didn't do it last week when I should have. Next is South Carolina at Georgia. Georgia's given 27.5. This is a home game. What are you thinking?
Yeah, this is an interesting game right now. Georgia has had a very bad start to the season by their standards, even though they've only given up 10 points combined in 2 games. But they've had slow starts offensively, only having 7 points combined in 2 first quarters. and they haven't covered either game so far this season. Meanwhile, Spencer Rattler comes in. He's had 350 yards passing in both games. He's looking very good. South Carolina's defense has been okay, but if Georgia's not able to score on some of these cupcake teams they've played, I think South Carolina's going to be able to get a few stops. 28 points is a lot because I think South Carolina's going to be able to get 2 or 3 touchdowns. And I just don't know if Georgia's able to get 42, 49, 50 plus points. South Carolina's not a terrible team. I know it's at Georgia, but South Carolina knows, like, when you play Georgia, this is the number one team in the country. This is the back-to-back reigning national champions. This is where you got to go out all out with all your favorite trick plays. So I certainly don't think they're going to win this game, but I like South Carolina plus the points because they're playing well enough to keep up and at least cover 4 touchdowns.
I was high on South Carolina this year, and then they got crushed by North Carolina, who I don't even think has that good of a defense, and especially after last week and the way they played. So I just question what they can do against a team like Georgia. 27.5 is a lot. Probably lean the under here if I was going to take anything, but I think for me, this is a stay away. All right, Jake, well, thank you for the picks, and I'll see you in the next one.
Here's to 3 straight positive weeks.